The office tower stood quiet in the middle of the night. Most of the lights were off. Desks were empty. Computers slept with their dark screens. The only sound in the building was the soft hum of the air conditioning and the gentle scrape of a mop across the floor. The cleaner moved slowly down the long hall. His cart rolled behind him, carrying sprays, cloths, and trash bags. He had worked here for years, always in the background, always invisible. No one remembered his name. To most people, he was just the cleaner. But tonight, something was different. As he reached the top floor, the executive floor, he noticed a faint glow coming from one of the offices. The CEO's office. Strange, he thought. The man had left hours ago. Why was there still light? He pushed his cart closer. That was when he heard it. Ring. 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 The phone on the CEO's desk was ringing. Loud in the silence. Sharp against the emptiness. The cleaner froze. Phones rarely rang at this hour. He looked around, half expecting someone to appear. But the hall was empty. The ringing didn't stop. His hand shook as he opened the door. Inside, the office looked powerful and cold. Large desk, leather chair, tall windows showing the dark city skyline. The phone sat in the middle of the desk, glowing red with each ring. He whispered to himself. It's not my business. Just leave it. But something pulled him closer. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was fate. He picked up the receiver. Hello, he said softly. For a moment, only silence. Then a deep voice spoke. Finally. Listen carefully. The transfer must happen before midnight. Do you have the codes? The cleaner's heart raced. His mouth went dry. This was no ordinary call. He wanted to say, "You have the wrong person," but the words stuck in his throat. The voice continued, calm but heavy. If this fails, the deal is gone. The CEO will lose everything. Do not make a mistake. The cleaner swallowed hard. His mind spun. What is this? A bank transfer? A secret deal? He tried to answer without giving himself away. Yes. I understand, he said carefully, copying the serious tone. Good, the voice said. Meet the contact at the south entrance tomorrow morning. Bring the codes. Remember, the future of the company depends on this. Then the line went dead. The cleaner stood frozen, still holding the phone. His hand shook. His chest felt tight. He had just stepped into something far bigger than himself. He placed the receiver back, his thoughts racing. A deal, a transfer, codes. He didn't understand the details, but he understood one thing: this was dangerous. Slowly, he backed out of the office. The hallway felt darker now, the silence heavier. For the first time in years, he wished he wasn't in this building. The next morning, the cleaner returned as usual. Nobody looked at him. Nobody cared. But inside, he carried a secret. He wanted to forget the call, to push it away. Yet the words kept repeating in his head. If this fails, the CEO will lose everything. When the CEO walked in, surrounded by assistants, sharp in his dark suit, the cleaner almost spoke. Almost. But he stopped. Who would believe him? He was just a cleaner. Still, he couldn't let go. As the day passed, he noticed small things he had never cared about before. Two men he had never seen before were standing outside near the parking lot, watching the entrance. A stranger sat in the lobby, pretending to read a newspaper but glancing at everyone who walked by. Something was happening. Something big. At night, when the building emptied again, the cleaner found himself back on the executive floor. He stared at the CEO's phone. He half expected it to ring again. But it stayed silent. He walked to the tall window and looked out at the city lights. The voice on the phone still echoed in his ears. Meet the contact. Bring the codes. The future of the company depends on this. The cleaner clenched his fists. He had two choices. Forget it and stay in the shadows. Or step into the light and risk everything. But he already knew. The wrong call had found him for a reason. And whether he wanted it or not, he was now part of the deal. The cleaner barely slept that night. The voice from the phone call stayed with him. Every time he closed his eyes, he heard it again. If this fails, the CEO will lose everything. By morning, his head felt heavy, but he still pushed his cart into the tall glass building. Like every day, he moved through the halls quietly, ignored by everyone. No one noticed his tired eyes or the way he kept looking over his shoulder. But he noticed. He noticed everything. When the CEO arrived that morning, the building came alive. Assistants rushed behind him. Security guards checked doors. Laptops clicked, printers hummed. The cleaner stood in the corner, mop in hand, pretending not to watch. The CEO was smiling, but the cleaner could see something else in his face: stress. The man looked like someone carrying a weight too heavy to drop. The cleaner almost stepped forward, almost told him about the phone call. But the thought stopped him. Would he even listen? Would he laugh? No. Nobody listened to a cleaner. Later that day, the cleaner wheeled his cart to the lobby. That was when he saw them. Two men in black coats stood outside, near the street, pretending to smoke but never really lighting their cigarettes. Their eyes followed every person who entered. And inside, the man with the newspaper was back again, sitting in the same chair. His paper never turned a page. He only glanced over the top, scanning the lobby. The cleaner's chest tightened. These were not regular visitors. They were watching, waiting. By the time evening came, the office had emptied. The cleaner began his usual rounds. The silence of the building was familiar, but now it felt different. Every shadow looked suspicious. Every sound echoed louder than before. He reached the CEO's office again. The room smelled of leather and coffee. Papers were stacked neatly on the desk. A silver pen lay across a folder marked confidential. The phone was quiet. But the cleaner's mind was not. Codes. Transfer. South entrance. He sat slowly in the big leather chair, something he had never dared to do before. From here, he could almost feel the power the CEO carried every day. Yet at the same time, he felt the danger pressing in from the outside. That was when he made a choice. If no one would listen to him, then he would listen to them, the mysterious voice, the spies, the strangers. He would step into their world, even if it was for one night. He whispered to himself, if they think I'm the contact, then I'll play the part. The next morning, he tested his idea. He walked by the south entrance just before dawn. The streets were still empty, the air cold. A black car waited near the curb, engine running. A man leaned against it, holding a phone. The cleaner kept his head down, pushing his cart toward the door as if he belonged there. He heard the man on the phone whisper, "Yes. He's coming." The cleaner's heart thumped like a drum. He passed close, just enough to hear the man mutter about delivery and time running out. So it was true. A meeting. A deal. And he was right in the middle of it. The rest of the day dragged like a heavy chain. The cleaner could hardly focus on his work. His mind was stuck on one thought: they think I have the codes. They will come for me. But maybe that was his only chance to protect the CEO. Late at night, as the office went silent again, the cleaner surged. He moved through rooms he had cleaned 100 times, but now with sharper eyes. He checked waste baskets, glanced at half-shredded papers, listened at closed doors. In the boardroom, he found a crumpled note under the table. It had only a few words written on it. Tomorrow. Noon. Secure transfer. His hands shook as he held it. Proof. Something real. That was when the lights flickered. He froze. Footsteps. Slow, heavy, careful. Someone else was in the building. The cleaner ducked behind the long boardroom table, holding his breath. Through the glass wall, he saw shadows moving, 2 figures, tall, sharp. Not guards. Not employees. One of them whispered, "The codes will be here." He has no choice. The cleaner's blood went cold. They weren't just watching the CEO. They were inside the building now. The footsteps faded. The shadows slipped away. The cleaner slowly stood, his pulse racing. Now he knew the truth. This was not about business. This was not about simple money. It was a game of power, of betrayal, of people willing to do anything to win. And the CEO was walking into a trap. The cleaner looked down at the note in his hand. His decision was already made. He was no longer just cleaning floors. He was going to clean up something far bigger before it destroyed them all. The cleaner had never made a plan in his life that involved danger. His days were simple: mop the floors, empty the bins, wipe the glass, lock the doors. That was it. But now, his routine had broken. The phone call. The note. The shadows in the building. It was all too big for him, yet he knew one thing with certainty: if he stayed silent, the CEO would lose everything. And maybe worse. The next morning, the cleaner walked through the lobby as if nothing had changed. But inside, he was different. His eyes scanned every corner, every face. He noticed the same man with the newspaper. He noticed the black car outside again. They were still here. Watching. Waiting. He whispered to himself, "If they think I have the codes, then I'll let them think that." That night, when the building emptied, the cleaner stayed on the executive floor longer than usual. He sat in the CEO's chair again, staring at the city lights. For years, he had been invisible. Nobody saw him, nobody asked his opinion, nobody even remembered his name. But maybe that was his strength. The spies overlooked him. The traitors ignored him. To them, he was nothing. And that gave him power. He began to plan. First, he needed to understand more about the codes. He remembered the note: secure transfer. Noon. That meant timing was everything. He searched the CEO's desk again, carefully, not disturbing the papers. In the bottom drawer, he found a folder marked Finance Private. He flipped through quickly. Numbers, account names, strange codes. It was too much for him to fully understand, but one detail stood out: a transfer date. Tomorrow. His stomach dropped. Time was running out. The cleaner thought fast. He didn't have the codes, but he could pretend. He had scraps of paper, folders, shredded pieces of documents. If he combined them, he could create something that looked like codes. Enough to fool the spies. He spent hours cutting, pasting, scribbling. By the end, he had a sheet of random letters and numbers. It meant nothing, but it looked important. He stared at it, his hands trembling. This fake paper would be his weapon. But a plan needed more than fake codes. He needed information. And he had one advantage no one else had: he could move anywhere in the building without question. He checked the security office while the guards were gone. He looked at the cameras. He saw the black car still waiting outside, headlights off, engine quiet. He saw the man with the newspaper still in the lobby, still pretending. And then he saw something that froze him. One of the board members. A face he had seen in meetings before. The man was stepping into the lobby, shaking hands with the stranger holding the newspaper. The cleaner's chest tightened. It's inside. Someone from the company is working with them. Now the picture was clear. This was not just outside spies. This was betrayal from within. He whispered to himself, "Then I can't trust anyone." The next morning came too quickly. The cleaner hadn't slept. His eyes were red, but his mind was sharp. He pushed his cart past the south entrance, the fake codes hidden under his jacket. The black car was there again. The man leaning against it looked up. For a second, their eyes met. The cleaner kept walking, pretending he was just a worker. But he knew, they were waiting for him. Later that day, while dusting near the boardroom, he overheard voices through the door. "The cleaner," one man said. He answered the call. "Yes," another replied. "But it doesn't matter. He has what we need. Tonight, we take it." The cleaner's stomach twisted. They were coming for him. That night, the office felt like a trap. Every step echoed too loud. Every door seemed too open. He carried his mop, but in his pocket was the folded sheet of fake codes. He wasn't going to run. He was going to use their mistake, the wrong call, to his advantage. Around midnight, he returned to the CEO's office. He placed the fake codes inside a folder on the desk, leaving it half open, as if someone careless had left it there. Then he hid in the shadows of the room. Minutes later, the door opened. Two figures entered. The same shadows from before. One whispered, "There." On the desk. They reached for the folder. The cleaner's breath caught in his chest. His plan was working. But then one of them paused. "Wait. Someone's here." The cleaner gripped the mop handle like a weapon, his heart pounding. The room filled with silence, heavy and sharp. The spies scanned the shadows. The cleaner's mind raced. He had no training, no weapons, no backup. But he had something else: he was invisible. To them, he was just a cleaner. And that was the role he would play. The office was dark, but not silent. Two figures stood in the CEO's office, their hands reaching for the folder on the desk. Inside the folder were the fake codes, the trap. The cleaner stayed hidden in the corner, his mop handle clutched tight like a spear. His heartbeat was loud in his ears. One of the spies opened the folder. The paper inside looked real enough. He whispered to his partner, "This is it. The codes." The second spy frowned. "Strange. Why leave them here?" The cleaner's breath caught. If they realized it was fake, everything would collapse. He stepped out of the shadows slowly, keeping his head low, his posture small. "Sorry, sir." I was just cleaning. I didn't see anything. The spies turned fast, eyes sharp, hands sliding inside their coats. The first one sneered. You again. The cleaner. The second narrowed his eyes. No. Not just a cleaner. He answered the call. He knows. The cleaner's hands trembled, but he forced his voice steady. I don't know anything. I just work here. The first spy held up the paper. Then why were you guarding this? The cleaner swallowed hard. His trap was dangerous, but it was all he had. He forced himself to play the role. I thought it was important, he said softly. I didn't want anyone to steal it. The two men exchanged a look. Suspicion, then greed. He's not lying, one muttered. He's too simple. He probably doesn't even know what this means. The cleaner lowered his head further, hiding the spark in his eyes. His plan was working. The spies tucked the folder under their arm and moved toward the door. The cleaner spoke quickly, making his voice shaky, innocent. You won't tell the CEO I was here, right? I don't want to lose my job. The men chuckled darkly. Don't worry. Nobody will know. As they stepped out, the cleaner slipped behind them, moving silently down the hall. He couldn't let them leave the building. Not yet. The trap was only half complete. Earlier that evening, while pretending to dust the boardroom, the cleaner had placed a small voice recorder under the long table. He had overheard enough to know the traitor would meet the spies tonight. And now, with the fake codes in their hands, the traitor would be exposed. The spies walked toward the back stairwell, moving fast, certain they were unseen. The cleaner followed from a distance, pushing his cart to cover his steps. At the bottom of the stairs, a door opened. A man in a fine suit stepped in. The board member. The traitor. Do you have it? The board member asked. The spy handed him the folder. The cleaner left it out. Foolish man. The traitor flipped the folder open, scanning the paper. His eyes gleamed with greed. Perfect. Tomorrow, the CEO will be finished. The deal will belong to us. The cleaner's fists clenched. Now he had what he needed, the proof. But then his cart squeaked. The sound echoed in the stairwell like a gunshot. The three men spun around. Their eyes locked on him. The traitor's face twisted with fury. You. The cleaner froze. He had been invisible his whole life, but now the shadows no longer protected him. The first spy stepped forward, knife glinting under the dim light. You've been following us. The cleaner's breath grew shallow. His plan had worked too well. He had trapped them, but now he was trapped with them. Thinking fast, he forced a nervous laugh. I'm just cleaning. You dropped something. He bent quickly, grabbing a trash bag from his cart, pretending to be harmless. Inside the bag, hidden under old papers and cans, was the small voice recorder. The men stepped closer. The traitor growled, "Do you think anyone will believe a cleaner over me? You are nothing." The words cut deep, but they also lit a fire in him. For years, he had been nothing. But tonight, he was the only one standing between them and the CEO's future. He straightened slowly, his eyes steady now. Maybe I am just a cleaner. But I clean up messes. And right now, you are the mess. Before they could react, he threw the trash bag into the spy's face and bolted up the stairs. The bag burst, scattering bottles and cans. The spy cursed, slipping. The cleaner ran, his lungs burning, his legs weak but fast. He didn't stop until he reached the boardroom. He slammed the door shut, locking it from inside. His chest heaved as he pulled the recorder from the trash bag. The voices were clear. The proof was real. He had them. But he also knew proof was not enough. The traitor was powerful. The spies were dangerous. They would not stop. The cleaner had to end this before they ended him. He stared at the recorder, then at the dark window reflecting his tired face. Tomorrow, the CEO would walk into a trap. Unless the cleaner turned the trap against them first. Morning came heavy with tension. The cleaner hadn't slept. He sat in the corner of the empty break room, staring at the small voice recorder in his hand. The tiny device held everything: the whispers of the spies, the traitor's voice, the proof of betrayal. But he also knew this truth: evidence meant nothing if it never reached the right ears. The CEO was set to meet the board at noon. By then, the traitor and the spies would already have control of the deal. The company would fall. Unless the cleaner acted first. He pushed his cart through the halls as usual. Workers ignored him, stepping around him as if he were invisible. They didn't know the war he carried inside. They didn't know that the future of their company rested in the hands of the man who scrubbed their floors. The cleaner whispered to himself, "One more mess to clean." The clock struck 11. The boardroom began to fill. Board members in suits took their seats, their eyes sharp, their voices low. At the head of the table, the CEO sat tall, though his face was pale with stress. The cleaner waited outside, pretending to wipe the glass wall. But his heart was beating too loud. Inside, he saw the traitor pass the folder of fake codes to an assistant. He saw the smug look on the man's face. Any moment now, the trap would close on the CEO. The cleaner tightened his grip on the recorder in his pocket. He couldn't wait any longer. He pushed the door open and rolled his cart inside. The room went silent. Board members frowned. The CEO blinked in surprise. The traitor's eyes widened in fury. "What are you doing here?" the traitor snapped. "Get out. This is not your place." The cleaner's voice shook, but he forced the words out. "I think it is my place. Because I know what you've done." Gasps filled the room. The traitor rose to his feet, pointing at him. "This man is insane. He's just a cleaner. Throw him out." The CEO raised a hand, stopping the guards who moved forward. His eyes narrowed on the cleaner. "What do you mean?" The cleaner pulled the recorder from his pocket and pressed play. The room filled with voices: the spies whispering, the traitor promising betrayal, the sound of the deal being stolen. Every word was clear. Every lie was exposed. The boardroom fell into silence once again, but this time it was heavy, dangerous silence. The CEO's eyes burned with fury as he turned toward the traitor. "You." The traitor stumbled back, his face pale now. "Lies. It's fake. He made it up." But the voices were too clear. The evidence was undeniable. The other board members stood, their eyes cold. The traitor's power crumbled in seconds. The CEO slammed his hand on the table. "Guards. Take him out." Two security men moved forward. The traitor struggled, shouting, but it was no use. The trap he had set was now his own. The CEO looked at the cleaner. For the first time, the most powerful man in the building looked directly at the most invisible one. "Why?" the CEO asked softly. "Why did you do this?" The cleaner hesitated. His hands were still shaking, his chest still heavy. He could have told the truth that he was scared, that he didn't know what else to do, that he only answered the phone because it wouldn't stop ringing. Instead, he simply said, because someone had to clean up the mess. The boardroom erupted into whispers. Some laughed nervously, some looked away in shame, but the CEO only nodded. "You saved me," the CEO said. "You saved the deal. $1 million, the future of this company because of you." The cleaner shook his head. "I just answered the wrong call." Later that night, after the police had taken the traitor and the spies away, the building was quiet again. The CEO stood by his office window, staring at the city lights. Behind him, the cleaner finished wiping the glass table, as if nothing had happened. The CEO turned. "Who are you really?" The cleaner looked at him, then down at his mop. A small smile touched his lips. "I'm just a cleaner," he said. And with that, he wheeled his cart out of the room, disappearing once again into the silence, into the shadows where no one ever noticed him. But from that night on, everyone in the building remembered him. Not his name. Not his face. But the story of the invisible man who picked up the wrong call, and saved everything.